Hello traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. I want to welcome you to the week ahead for January 16th, 2017. This is going to be a busy week this week, and we have a lot to talk about. So in light of trying to keep these fairly short and sweet as far as the videos go, I want to go ahead and get started. Now, as far as the economic calendar, we have a lot of things happening this week. To start us off on Tuesday, we have Prime Minister Theresa May. She is speaking, and as we close in on Brexit, the pound could see a little bit of volatility. We have a couple central banks meeting this week. We have the BOC. We also have the ECB on Thursday. The Bank of Canada is going to be on Wednesday. Janet Yellen is speaking twice this week on Wednesday and Thursday. And then we have the U.S. presidential inauguration, which is obviously going to be a market mover, or the potential for a market mover, not because he's going to talk anything about policy, but because a lot of traders are looking at that as a possible turning point for currencies, the equity markets, and whatnot. So we have to keep that on our radar as we go into the end of the week. Now, as far as some of the currencies that I wanted to cover in particular, there's several of them. First and foremost, we want to talk about the euro dollar, and let's go ahead and take a look at the euro dollar really quick. The euro dollar, if you go out to like a daily chart, you'll notice that we are, pivoting off channel lows, and we've been rejecting the 618 retracement, but you can see how the euro is grinding up towards that 618. What that leaves us the potential of is a squeeze. We get above 107, we might squeeze higher towards 108, 109, and if that dollar weakness comes in, well, where's it going to bleed into? I mean, if you look at the US dollar Japanese yen, last week we talked about the possible double top here, and that double top has got a little bit of distance to go. 113.50 would be the target from the high to low here, to the low, from the low to the range extension would take us down to about 113.50. We've almost completed it, but if you look at the 38% retracement of this last move higher from the spike low that we saw following the presidential election in November, that comes in at 112, also a previous breakout point here, and you can see the retest right here. So this 112 is going to be it's going to have a big, it's kind of like a magnetic force that should drive us towards there. But I would expect the dollar buyer, to be around. I do. If you take a look at the dollar index, for example, here's the dollar index, and let's go over to a 4-hour chart. We talked about last week this down channel that we're following. If you think about the dollar here, we could probably get down towards parity. I think it's possible that we can drive down towards 100 on the dollar index. There are going to be buyers all over the place. I mean, as you approach this 100, maybe 99.50, this breakout point, there's going to be dollar buyers all over the place because, frankly, monetary policy is still divergent between the Fed and most central banks. And we're going to get a good look at what the ECB is thinking on Thursday. But as long as those central banks continue to diverge as far as monetary policy goes, there are going to be buyers present on these pullbacks. Can that dynamic change? Of course it can, but it's something that I think we all have to be cognizant of, especially if you're shorting the dollar. Now, there's a couple dollar pairs in particular that look extremely weak. One of them we talked about last week is the dollar Canadian. The dollar Canadian did close below a major trend line that spawns back all the way from 2004. I mean, if you look at the 2004 support going all the way through these lows, we've actually closed below it. We're just above the 200-day moving average, but frankly, we have a double top setting up. And if that double top starts to break and push, I mean, this is a 600 pip trading range. 600 pips off 130 takes us to 124, which would be near this support. I don't think we're going there tomorrow, let alone next week, but the ball may start rolling, taking us down towards the low 120s. And if crude oil continues to stay bid, well, that's just going to be another reason why the Canadian currency might gain some strength. Last but not least, I want to take a look at the US dollar Mexican peso. The peso hit what I would consider channel highs, and the peso's been destroyed really since the U.S. presidential election. All the rhetoric against Mexico, talk about the wall from President-elect Trump to manufacturers putting plants in the U.S. and not in Mexico. Everybody thinks the peso is going to get destroyed. Well, if you guys haven't seen it already, the peso has been destroyed, but a lot of times in the markets we get the buy the rumor, sell the news. In this case, it would be, all right, everybody knew it was coming. Everybody knew, Donald Trump was going to do this, that, and the other thing, and protectionism and whatnot. Well, maybe it's already factored into the market. Now we're already starting to see peso strength coming into the market. So we close near the breakout point here at 2140. I wouldn't be surprised over the course of the next month or two if we make it back down towards this trend line support at 19. But we did tag the channel resistance. We might get down towards the 21 level this week. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of buyers, especially once you get towards mid-range. People are going to look at the Mexican economy and say, well, they're going to continue to get hit in years to come because of President Trump. And perhaps, the peso continues to weaken over time. But when you're up against resistance like this, you're getting very overbought. There's a good chance that you could get that buy the rumor, sell the news type of event in the peso. So one last thing I wanted to cover with you guys. This is the last couple of days of our holiday pricing special for ForexAnalytix, so make sure you take advantage of it until the 16th. And with that being said, you guys have a great trading week. Thanks for listening in. This is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Have a great day.